As far as I can tell, a slab loaf is just a big flat loaf bread. There isn't much consistency between the recipes that I've come across, so I decided to create my own flat loaf. This loaf contains a variety of flours and seeds, which produce relatively mild yet complex flavor. It has a soft and moist crumb, which will stay soft for a long time. I have combined the scalding and the soaking methods in this recipe. The seeds are soaked and part of the flour is scalded. There is a huge potential for customization here. You can use any seeds that you like, and you can play around with the flour too. The scald is made with spelt, but you can swap that for rye or even for more whole wheat. And if you don't fancy a freestanding loaf, then drop this dough in a tin and bake it that way. Or just follow my recipe. It's all in your hands. Here's what I used to make this loaf. Some white bread flour, some whole wheat bread flour, pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, whole grain spelt flour, wheat bran for coating the loaf. That is optional. We'll also need some water, yeast, salt, caraway seeds, and some barley malt syrup or any other sweet syrup that you prefer. Or you can remove the sweetener altogether. When it comes to the equipment, as a bare minimum, you will need a tray with some non-stick baking paper, bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, something to slash the loaf with, a razor blade or a sharp knife will do, and ideally you want a spray bottle with water. This will give the bread more volume and a thinner and crispier crust. But if you own a cast iron combo cooker such as this one, then you can use it instead of the tray and the spray bottle. The bread goes in, it gets covered, it gets baked evenly on all sides, and the steam is trapped inside, which helps the bread develop that thin and crispy crust. But it'll still turn out good if you bake it on a tray. Okay, let's start by making the scald/soaker. We'll combine all the seeds, the salt, the syrup, and the spelt flour, and then we'll pour in boiling water. The flour will get cooked, and the seeds will absorb much of the water. The cooked flour will make the bread extra soft, and the seeds, as well as the flour, will hold on to the moisture inside the bread and prevent it from staling very quickly. You can find full detailed videos about both scalding and soaking in the Principles of Baking playlist. Both methods will open a whole new world of baking for you. Okay, whisk the ingredients together until more or less smooth. Now cover up the scald and leave it to cool down. You can leave it to cool down at room temperature, in the fridge, or even in the freezer. You could even mix it up and leave it for the next day. Be sure to scrape all the liquid from the lid back into the soaker. It does make up part of the hydration in this dough. And one more note on customization here. You can toast your seeds in a hot pan to bring out even more flavor. I did not do that this time. I wanted a more mildly flavored bread. Okay, let's move on to mixing the final dough. Add the yeast and whole wheat flour to the scald. Whisk them in, and then add the final ingredient, the white wheat bread flour. Then grab your dough scraper and mix it to a dough. It will be pretty sticky, so after you have finished mixing it, wet your hands with water to handle it. Shape it into a nice round ball, place it in a clean bowl, and then take its temperature. I will be slow fermenting this in the fridge, so after mixing the dough and after checking its temperature, I'm going to cover it up and leave it in the fridge to chill down for 20 minutes before giving it a fold. You can just as well do the bulk fermentation at room temperature, in which case it'll take around an hour and a half. Fold the dough twice at 30-minute intervals. Most of the time my schedule doesn't allow me to bake the bread on the same day. It is much more convenient for me to ferment it in the fridge, and then do the final proof on the next day. And in my opinion, cold fermentation produces a superior result. So it is a win-win for me really. Okay, after folding the dough, place it back into the fridge, leave it to cool down for another 20 minutes, and then fold it again. This is a high hydration dough with a bunch of other stuff inside it, so it really benefits from that second fold. After the second fold, leave the dough in the fridge to ferment for around 18 to 24 hours. And on the next day, it should look like this, nice and big and puffy. At this point it's very well fermented, and the gluten has relaxed completely. In order to build some strength back into the dough, we must pre-shape it before we do the final shaping. And pre-shaping is not just there to strengthen the gluten. By folding up the dough, we introduce the yeast to some fresh food, which will help the dough ferment more quickly and evenly. To perform the pre-shaping, dust dough with flour, drop it out on the table, flatten it out, then fold it over the middle whilst go around in a circle until reach point where you started. Then flip it with the smooth side up and tighten it against the table, and then leave it to rest for 30 minutes. It is quite a moist dough, so you don't need to cover it, unless the air in your kitchen is particularly dry. Okay, it's final shaping time. Dust the dough ball with flour, release it from the table, flip it with the smooth side down, then flatten it out, then take the two top corners and cross them over in the middle. That will create a pointy bit at the top. Take that pointy bit and fold it down into the center. If the dough is sticking to your hands, dust your fingers with some flour. After folding down the pointy bit, turn the dough 180 degrees. And then repeat the same steps on the other side. You will end up with 2 pointy bits on the left and the right. Stretch them out and then cross them over in the middle too. And then finally you want to roll this thing up into a loaf. It doesn't need to be very tight. We are trying to make a flat loaf after all. Although this shaping technique is used for tall loaves. Place the shaped loaf on a piece of baking paper with the seam side down, and then flatten it out. Now the next step can be done just before baking. I decided to do it now, before proofing. Spray the loaf with water and cover it with wheat bran. You could cover it in seeds too, or just leave it plain, it's up to you. I'm going to leave this loaf to proof uncovered. That is why I'm spraying some more water on the bran. This will keep it moist and stuck to the loaf. The final proof will take around 1 hour, depending on the temperature of your kitchen. Towards the end of the final proof, switch on the oven to 220 degrees Celsius or 430 Fahrenheit, fan on. If your oven doesn't have a fan, go for 240 Celsius or 465 Fahrenheit. And don't forget to preheat your baking vessel if you're using one. Okay, my dough looks nice and puffy. It's ready for the oven. There's just one thing left to do, and that is scoring it. And scoring does determine the shape of the loaf. If you just give it one slash down the middle, it might rise up. But if you slice it into a diamond pattern, it will spread out in all directions evenly. And since I'm making a flat loaf, I went with the diamond pattern. If you're just using a regular baking tray, then spray the loaf with some more water before you place it in the oven. If you are baking it in a pan like I am, place it in the pan, cover it with a lid, and bake it for 25 minutes. After the first 25 minutes of baking, remove the pan from the oven, remove the lid, and place the loaf back into the oven uncovered for 15 more minutes of baking, or until you are happy with the color of the crust. You can have it darker or lighter, it's up to you. There is no wrong or right. This loaf will be fully baked internally in about 30 minutes. Whatever you do after that is completely up to personal preference. But there you go, that's how you make a slab loaf. It has a beautiful rustic look, it smells fantastic, it's hearty, it's wholesome, it's full of delicious ingredients. It is quite an elegant recipe in my opinion. We're combining scalding and soaking and getting the best out of both. There's nothing advanced here. They are extremely simple methods, but they produce extraordinary results. See, if you just drop this amount of seeds in a bread dough, that dough will really dry out, and the seeds might still be difficult to slice through. And if you made this bread without scalding, the lack of fat in this type of recipe would result in a bread that is only soft right after baking, and it would become stale not too long after that. If you love rustic whole grain breads, head over to the multigrain bread playlist on my channel. And don't forget that you can get early access videos up to 1 month before they go public. Click the join button to find out more. But that is all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.